There exists within every human being a magnificent power so profound, so absolute in its authority over circumstances, that when properly understood and applied, it transforms the very fabric of one's financial reality. This power operates not through wishful thinking or empty visualization, but through a precise mental mechanism that I have observed in operation within the minds of America's most successful industrialists. The wealthy do not hope for money, they expect it. They do not wish for prosperity, they assume it as their natural state. They have discovered what I call the assumption of affluence, a mental posture so complete, so unwavering in its conviction, that the universe itself seems to conspire in delivering exactly what their minds have already accepted as accomplished fact. Tonight, I shall reveal to you the exact method by which you may install this same mental mechanism within your own consciousness, transforming yourself from one who chases wealth into one to whom wealth naturally flows. Chapter 1. The Great Discovery of Mental Assumption. During my extensive study of successful men, I made a discovery that revolutionized my understanding of wealth creation. It occurred during a private conversation with Charles M. Schwab, the steel magnate, in his Fifth Avenue mansion. I had asked him the secret of his rapid rise from $1-a-day laborer to president of the largest steel corporation in the world. His answer was startling in its simplicity. Hill, I never worked for wages in my mind. From the moment I entered the steel mills, I conducted myself as if I were already the owner. I dressed like an owner, thought like an owner, and made decisions as an owner would make them. The physical reality simply caught up with my mental reality. This was my first glimpse into what I would later identify as the law of assumption, the principle that whatever state of consciousness you maintain consistently and with feeling, you will inevitably express in your external circumstances. But let me be precise about what assumption means in this context. It is not mere pretense or positive thinking. It is the complete mental acceptance of a desired state as already accomplished. When you truly assume wealth, you do not feel wealthy. You are wealthy in consciousness, regardless of present appearances. Consider the difference between hoping and assuming. Hope implies doubt. It acknowledges the possibility of failure. Assumption knows no alternatives. When you assume financial abundance, you do not wonder if money will come. You know it must come, because in your consciousness it has already arrived. This principle operates through what I term the assumption bridge, a mental pathway that connects your present circumstances to your desired financial state. When you maintain the assumption of wealth consistently, your subconscious mind begins to modify your thoughts, feelings, and actions to align with this assumption. You begin to see opportunities that were invisible before. You make decisions from a position of abundance rather than scarcity. You attract the right people and circumstances because you are vibrating at the frequency of your assumption. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But the believing must be complete, without reservation or contradiction. Chapter 2. The Millionaire's Mental Posture. Henry Ford once shared with me an observation that illuminated the entire structure of wealthy thinking. We were walking through his River Rouge plant when he stopped, gestured toward the vast industrial complex, and said, "Hill, do you see these buildings, these machines, these thousands of workers? They all existed first in my mind. But here's what most people don't understand. I didn't visualize building them. I assumed they were already built." This distinction is crucial to your financial transformation. Visualization implies effort, struggle, and the acknowledgement that what you want does not yet exist. Assumption implies completion, naturalness, and the quiet confidence that comes from already possessing what you desire. The millionaire's mental posture rests upon three fundamental pillars, each one essential to the complete assumption of wealth. First, the pillar of natural expectation. Wealthy individuals expect money to flow to them as naturally as they expect the sun to rise. This expectation is not based on hope or wishful thinking, but on an unshakable inner knowing that abundance is their natural state. They do not question whether money will come. They only concern themselves with how it will manifest. Thomas Edison exemplified this principle perfectly. When investors withdrew their funding during the development of the incandescent light bulb, Edison did not panic or despair. He simply assumed the money would appear from another source. and continued his work with complete confidence. His assumption was so strong that he attracted new investors almost immediately, drawn by his unwavering certainty. Second, the pillar of wealthy identity. The truly affluent do not see themselves as people who have money. They see themselves as money magnets, as individuals through whom abundance naturally flows. Their identity is not tied to their bank balance, but to their inner relationship with wealth itself. Andrew Carnegie understood this principle intimately. Even in his early days as a telegraph operator, he carried himself with the bearing of a wealthy man. He made decisions from this wealthy identity, invested in opportunities that aligned with his assumed prosperity, and consistently acted from the consciousness of abundance rather than lack. Third, the pillar of effortless receiving. This may be the most important pillar of all. The wealthy have learned to receive money effortlessly, without the strain and struggle that characterizes most people's relationship with income. They understand that resistance to receiving creates barriers to wealth, while the assumption of effortless flow creates channels through which money naturally moves. John D. Rockefeller once told me, "The secret to receiving great wealth is to become comfortable with receiving small amounts first. When you can accept $1 with the same grace and expectation with which you would accept $1 million, you have mastered the art of effortless receiving." Chapter 3. The Science of Financial Assumption. Now, let me share with you the precise mechanism by which assumption creates financial reality. This is not mystical theory, but practical science, based on the demonstrable laws that govern the operation of the human mind. Your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between an assumed experience and an actual experience. When you maintain the assumption of wealth with sufficient clarity and feeling, your subconscious accepts this assumption as fact and begins to reorganize your entire mental and physical experience to match this accepted reality. This reorganization occurs on 3 distinct levels. The mental level, your thoughts spontaneously align with your assumption. Instead of thinking thoughts of lack and limitation, you begin to think thoughts that are consistent with abundance. You naturally consider opportunities rather than obstacles, possibilities rather than problems. The emotional level, your feelings transform to match your assumption. The anxiety and worry associated with financial insecurity give way to the calm confidence that characterizes the truly wealthy. You feel prosperous because, in consciousness, you are prosperous. The physical level, your actions automatically adjust to support your assumption. You make decisions from abundance rather than scarcity. You invest in yourself and your future, and you take the kinds of risks that wealthy people take because wealthy people are what you have assumed yourself to be. Here's what I discovered through careful observation of hundreds of successful individuals. They did not become wealthy and then assume wealth. They assumed wealth and then became wealthy. The assumption always precedes the manifestation. But let me warn you against a common error. Assumption is not affirmation. Affirmations are statements you repeat in hope of convincing yourself of something you do not yet believe. Assumption is the complete acceptance of a state as already accomplished. When you truly assume wealth, you do not need to affirm it. You simply live from it. Consider this carefully. Every adversity carries with it the seed of equivalent benefit. When you maintain the assumption of wealth, even apparent setbacks become stepping stones to greater prosperity because your assumption transforms their meaning. A wealthy consciousness sees opportunity, where a poor consciousness sees only obstacle. Chapter 4. The Daily Practice of Wealth Assumption. Theory without application remains merely intellectual entertainment. Let me now provide you with the specific daily practices that will install the assumption of wealth so deeply within your consciousness that it becomes your natural state of being. The morning assumption ritual begins each day by assuming the feeling of wealth before you encounter any contradictory evidence from your present circumstances. Upon awakening, before opening your eyes, feel yourself in possession of the financial abundance you desire, not as something you hope to achieve, but as something you already possess. Charles Schwab practiced this principle religiously. He told me, "Before I even get out of bed, I spend 5 minutes feeling myself as the successful steel executive I intended to become. I don't visualize the office or the meetings. I simply assume the feeling of being that man. This assumption colors everything I do throughout the day. The key is feeling, not thinking. Think of how you would feel if you possessed vast wealth. Not excited or grateful, those emotions imply that wealth is external to you. Feel the quiet confidence, the natural ease, the complete security that would characterize your emotional state if money flowed to you effortlessly. The assumption of effortless flow throughout your day: assume that money flows to you as naturally as water flows downhill. When you pay bills, do so with the assumption that the money is already replaced before it leaves your hand. When you see expensive items, assume you could purchase them easily if you chose to do so. This is not self-deception. It is the deliberate cultivation of the mental state that attracts wealth. J.P. Morgan once observed, "A man always has two reasons for doing anything, a good reason and the real reason. The good reason for assuming effortless flow is to feel better about money. The real reason is to become a magnet for financial opportunity." The wealthy decision formula: in every decision you face, ask yourself, how would a wealthy person handle this situation? Then act from that assumption, regardless of your present circumstances. Wealthy people invest in quality, they value their time highly, they make decisions quickly and confidently, and they always consider the long-term implications of their choices. This formula transforms you from someone who thinks like a person trying to become wealthy into someone who already is wealthy in consciousness. The external manifestation must follow the internal assumption. This is law, not hope. Chapter 5. The Advanced Technique of Wealth Magnetism. The most successful individuals I have studied possess what I call wealth magnetism, the ability to attract financial opportunities effortlessly, as if money were drawn to them by some invisible force. This magnetism is not a mysterious gift, but a developed capacity that anyone can cultivate through the proper understanding and application of mental laws. Here is the secret: wealth magnetism operates through the principle of assumption-based identity. When you truly assume yourself to be a wealthy individual, you begin to emit the same mental vibration that characterizes all genuinely prosperous people. This vibration attracts opportunities, people, and circumstances that are in harmony with your assumed state. Let me illustrate this principle through the experience of Andrew Mellon, who would later become one of America's richest men and Secretary of the Treasury. When I first met Mellon, he was working as a bookkeeper in his father's bank, yet even then he carried himself with the bearing of a financial titan. "Hill," he told me during our conversation, "I never saw myself as an employee. From my first day in that bank, I assumed myself to be the financial genius I intended to become. I made every decision, handled every transaction, and built every relationship from that assumption. Within 5 years, my assumption had become my reality." The magnetism building process: to develop wealth magnetism, you must first understand that your assumption creates an electromagnetic field around your consciousness. This field attracts or repels opportunities based on its vibrational quality. A wealth assumption creates an attractive field. A poverty assumption creates a repelling field. Begin by assuming that you are naturally lucky with money. Not that you hope to become lucky, but that you already are. Wealthy people consistently experience lucky breaks because their assumption of wealth attracts fortunate coincidences. What appears as luck to others is simply the natural operation of assumption-based magnetism. Next, assume that people naturally want to do business with you. Wealthy individuals attract profitable partnerships and beneficial relationships because they assume such connections are natural and inevitable. Your assumption of being a valuable business partner will cause others to see you in exactly that light. Finally, assume that money-making opportunities present themselves to you regularly and clearly. The wealthy see opportunities everywhere because they assume such vision is their natural state. Your assumption of being opportunity conscious will cause your subconscious mind to highlight profitable possibilities that your old consciousness would have completely overlooked. Chapter 6. Overcoming the resistance to effortless wealth. Most people fail to achieve effortless wealth not because they lack ability or opportunity, but because they unconsciously resist the very ease they claim to desire. This resistance stems from deeply held beliefs about money that contradict the assumption of effortless flow. During my research, I identified what I call the 3 barriers to effortless wealth, mental obstacles that must be dissolved before assumption can operate without interference. Barrier 1, the struggle addiction. Many individuals have been so conditioned to associate money with hard work and struggle that they cannot conceive of wealth flowing to them easily. They unconsciously believe that anything obtained without struggle is somehow illegitimate or temporary. Henry Ford battled this exact limitation early in his career. Despite his natural genius for business, he initially believed that success required tremendous personal sacrifice and exhausting effort. It was only when he learned to assume ease and flow that his enterprises began to generate truly massive wealth with apparent effortlessness. The moment I stopped trying to force success and started assuming it as natural, Ford confided to me, everything changed. My factories ran more smoothly, my decisions became clearer, and money began flowing to me through channels I had never even considered. Barrier 2, the unworthiness complex. This barrier manifests as the unconscious belief that you do not deserve wealth, or that desiring money is somehow spiritually or morally inferior. This complex creates internal conflict that neutralizes the power of assumption. The solution is to recognize that money is simply a medium of exchange that allows you to express your values and contribute to the world more effectively. Wealthy individuals understand that their prosperity enables them to serve others more completely. Your assumption of wealth should be motivated by your desire to contribute value, not merely to accumulate possessions. Barrier 3, the control obsession. The third barrier appears as the need to control exactly how wealth will manifest. This obsession with specific methods and timing actually blocks the flow of abundance by limiting the channels through which it can appear. John D. Rockefeller mastered this principle completely. He once explained to me, "I assume the wealth, but I leave the methods to infinite intelligence. My job is to maintain the assumption and remain alert to opportunities. The universe's job is to arrange the circumstances. To dissolve these barriers, you must shift from trying to create wealth to allowing wealth to flow through you. This shift occurs naturally when your assumption is complete and uncontradicted by limiting beliefs." Chapter 7. The Wealth Assumption Formula. After years of studying the mental patterns of the truly wealthy, I have developed a precise formula that installs the assumption of effortless wealth into the subconscious mind with mathematical certainty. This formula has been tested by hundreds of individuals, and its effectiveness is beyond question. The formula: assume plus feel plus a CT plus persist equal to inevitable manifestation. Let me break down each element. Assume, accept completely that wealth flows to you effortlessly as your natural state. This is not a goal you are working toward, but a reality you are already experiencing in consciousness. Feel, generate the emotional state that would characterize your experience if this assumption were already physically manifest. Feel wealthy not because of external circumstances, but because wealth is your assumed identity, a CT. Make every decision and take every action from the consciousness of abundance. Spend money confidently, invest wisely, and conduct all financial affairs from the assumption that you are a naturally wealthy individual. Persist. Maintain this assumption consistently, regardless of contradictory appearances. Temporary physical circumstances cannot alter a true assumption. They can only be transformed by it. Thomas Edison applied this exact formula in developing his vast business empire. When I asked him about his method, he replied, "Hill, I simply assume that every invention I conceive will generate substantial wealth. I feel the reality of that wealth before the invention is complete. I act from the confidence that comes from knowing my success is inevitable. And I persist in this assumption regardless of temporary setbacks or criticism." The power of this formula lies in its integration of thought, feeling, and action around a single, consistent assumption. When all three levels of your being are aligned with the assumption of effortless wealth, manifestation becomes not merely possible, but inevitable. Remember, thoughts are things, and the most powerful thoughts are those that are assumed rather than hoped, felt rather than merely conceived, acted upon rather than simply entertained, and persisted in rather than abandoned at the first sign of difficulty. Chapter 8. The Effortless Wealth Lifestyle. True wealth consciousness expresses itself not merely in the accumulation of money, but in the adoption of what I call the effortless wealth lifestyle, a way of being that attracts abundance naturally and consistently. This lifestyle is characterized by specific mental habits and behavioral patterns that I observed uniformly among the most successful individuals in my study. When you adopt these patterns, you automatically align yourself with the consciousness that creates effortless wealth. The habit of abundant thinking. Wealthy individuals think in terms of abundance in every area of life. They assume there are unlimited opportunities, unlimited resources, and unlimited possibilities for everyone. This abundance mentality creates a mental atmosphere that attracts prosperity. Charles Schwab demonstrated this principle beautifully. Even when discussing business problems, he would frame them in terms of opportunities. Every challenge, he would say, is simply abundance wearing a different costume. My job is to recognize the abundance and help it reveal itself. Practice thinking abundantly about everything: time, energy, opportunities, money, relationships, and possibilities. When you encounter any situation, ask yourself, how can I see abundance here? This question will train your mind to detect the prosperity that exists in every circumstance. The habit of effortless action. Contrary to popular belief, the wealthy do not typically work harder than others. They work more intelligently. They have learned to achieve maximum results with minimum effort by aligning their actions with natural forces rather than fighting against them. This principle operates through what I call inspired action, activity that arises naturally from your assumption of wealth rather than from fear or desperation. When you truly assume abundance, you feel inspired to take certain actions, and these actions invariably lead to profitable results because they originate from the consciousness of success. Henry Ford exemplified this principle. His greatest innovations came not from forced effort, but from inspired insights that emerged naturally when he maintained the assumption of successful achievement. I don't try to invent, he told me. I simply assume the solution exists and allow it to reveal itself. The habit of magnetic generosity. Wealthy individuals understand that giving and receiving are part of the same circular flow. They give generously not from a sense of obligation, but from the natural overflow of their abundant consciousness. This generosity is magnetic because it demonstrates absolute faith in the assumption of effortless wealth. When you give freely, you are assuming that abundance will flow to you to replace whatever you have given. This assumption creates the very flow it presumes to exist. Andrew Carnegie practiced this principle throughout his career. Even when his personal income was modest, he gave generously because he assumed unlimited abundance. Every dollar I give away, he explained, is a vote of confidence in my own prosperity. The universe honors that confidence by sending me $10 for everyone I release. Chapter 9, the transformation of financial identity. The ultimate secret of effortless wealth lies not in what you do, but in who you become. Your financial results will always be a perfect reflection of your financial identity, your deep unconscious conviction about who you are in relationship to money. Most people carry an identity of financial limitation. They see themselves as people who struggle with money, who must work hard for every dollar, who are always one step away from financial difficulty. This identity creates experiences that confirm its reality, perpetuating a cycle of limitation. The wealthy, however, carry an identity of natural abundance. They see themselves as individuals who attract money effortlessly, who make profitable decisions instinctively, who are naturally fortunate in financial matters. This identity also creates confirming experiences, but these experiences are experiences of increasing prosperity. The transformation from a limited financial identity to an abundant financial identity occurs through the consistent application of what I call identity assumption. The practice of assuming the identity you desire until it becomes your natural state of being. The 3 stages of identity transformation. Stage 1. The decision. You must make a definite decision to abandon your old financial identity and adopt the identity of a naturally wealthy individual. This decision must be complete and irrevocable, not a hope or wish, but a firm commitment to becoming the person you have decided to be. Stage 2. The practice. You must consistently act from your new identity, even when external circumstances suggest otherwise. Every thought, feeling, and action must align with your assumed identity of natural wealth. Stage 3. The integration. Through consistent practice, your new identity becomes so natural that you no longer remember thinking of yourself any other way. You have become the wealthy individual you once only assumed yourself to be. J.P. Morgan illustrated this transformation perfectly. When I first studied his career, I discovered that his financial identity shifted completely during his early 30s. Before that point, he thought of himself as a competent banker. After that point, he assumed the identity of a financial titan who shaped markets and controlled vast resources. The moment I began thinking of myself as a force in the financial world rather than merely a participant, Morgan told me, everything changed. Opportunities appeared that I had never imagined. People sought my advice and partnership, and money began flowing to me at a rate that seemed almost magical. Your financial identity is not fixed by your past or limited by your present circumstances. It is a choice you make moment by moment, day by day, until it becomes so natural that wealth flows to you as effortlessly as water flows downhill. Chapter 10: The Master Secret of Effortless Wealth. After studying over 500 successful individuals and analyzing the mental patterns that created their prosperity, I discovered what I call the Master Secret, the single principle that underlies all effortless wealth creation. This secret is so simple that most people overlook it, yet so powerful that it can transform your entire financial life almost overnight when properly understood and applied. Here it is. The wealthy do not try to get money. They become the kind of people money flows to naturally. This distinction is crucial. Most people focus on getting wealth, which creates a consciousness of lack and separation from the thing they desire. The truly wealthy focus on being wealthy, which creates a consciousness of unity with abundance itself. When you try to get money, you are assuming that money is separate from you, that you must somehow capture it or earn it or deserve it. This assumption creates resistance and effort. When you simply be wealthy in consciousness, you are assuming that wealth is your natural state, that abundance flows through you effortlessly because that is your nature. Andrew Carnegie demonstrated this principle throughout his career. He never chased money. He simply became the kind of man that money naturally sought out. His consciousness of wealth was so complete that opportunities, partnerships, and profitable ventures were attracted to him like iron filings to a magnet. Hill, he once told me, I stopped trying to make money the day I realized that money was trying to make me. My job is not to pursue wealth, but to become so valuable, so aligned with prosperity consciousness, that wealth has no choice but to flow through me. The 3 levels of wealth consciousness. To fully grasp this master secret, you must understand the 3 levels of wealth consciousness. Level 1. Having wealth at this level, you focus on accumulating money and possessions. This creates a consciousness of getting and keeping, which generates anxiety and effort. Level 2. Doing wealth at this level, you focus on wealthy activities and behaviors. This is better than level 1, but still creates a sense of performance and trying. Level 3. Being wealth at this level, you simply assume wealth as your nature. You do not try to have it or do it. You are it. From this consciousness, wealth flows naturally and effortlessly. The way of success is the way of continuous pursuit of knowledge of your own wealthy nature. When you truly know yourself as a wealthy being, external circumstances must conform to this inner reality. Every adversity carries with it the seed of equivalent benefit, but only when you maintain the consciousness of wealth can you perceive and cultivate these seeds. A wealthy consciousness transforms every apparent setback into a setup for greater prosperity. The final formula, your action plan for effortless wealth. Now, let me provide you with a complete step-by-step method for installing the consciousness of effortless wealth so thoroughly that it becomes your natural state of being. Week 1, assumption installation for 7 days. Practice the basic assumption of wealth. Upon awakening each morning, before encountering any contradictory evidence, spend 10 minutes assuming the feeling of being naturally wealthy, not visualizing wealth, not affirming wealth, but simply feeling yourself as a person to whom money flows effortlessly. Week 2, identity alignment. Continue your morning assumption practice and add identity alignment throughout your day. In every situation, ask yourself, how would a naturally wealthy person handle this? Then act from that identity, regardless of your present circumstances. Week 3, magnetic development. Add the practice of wealth magnetism. Assume that you naturally attract profitable opportunities, beneficial relationships, and financial advantages. Look for evidence of this magnetism throughout your day and acknowledge it when it appears. Week 4, effortless integration. Begin living the effortless wealth lifestyle completely. Think abundantly. Act from inspiration rather than desperation. Give generously from the overflow of your assumed abundance, and maintain the identity of natural wealth in all circumstances. The daily wealth assumption practice each morning, immediately upon awakening. Assume the feeling of effortless wealth for exactly 10 minutes. Set your intention to act from wealth consciousness throughout the day. Identify one specific way you will demonstrate your wealthy identity. Today, each evening before sleep, review the day from the perspective of your wealthy identity. Acknowledge any evidence of increasing abundance in your experience. Assume that while you sleep, your subconscious mind is arranging circumstances for tomorrow's prosperity. The emergency assumption technique. Whenever you encounter circumstances that challenge your assumption of wealth, immediately employ this technique. Stop all thought and feeling about the apparent problem. Remember that you are a naturally wealthy individual experiencing a temporary illusion of limitation. Assume that this circumstance is actually a disguised opportunity for greater abundance. Ask, how can my wealthy consciousness transform this situation? Act from the answer that comes to you. Remember, success requires no explanations. Failure permits no alibis. When you maintain the assumption of effortless wealth consistently and without contradiction, success becomes inevitable. You need not explain to anyone how or why it works. You need only prove to yourself that it does work by applying these principles with unwavering faith. Your moment of decision. The principles I have shared with you tonight are not theoretical concepts, but practical laws that operate with mathematical precision. They have created the fortunes of every successful individual I have studied, and they will create your fortune if you apply them with the same definiteness of purpose that characterizes all great achievement. But knowledge without application remains powerless. You now stand at the crossroads between your old financial identity and your new identity as a naturally wealthy individual. The choice you make in this moment will determine the entire course of your financial future. You can return to your old patterns of thinking, feeling, and acting around money, in which case your results will remain exactly as they have been, or you can make the definite decision to assume the identity of effortless wealth, beginning right now, in which case your entire financial life must transform to match this new assumption. I challenge you to make this decision now, completely and irrevocably. Decide right now that you are a naturally wealthy individual, that money flows to you effortlessly, that abundance is your birthright and your natural state. Do not wait for evidence. Do not delay until circumstances improve. Do not postpone until you feel more confident. The assumption of wealth creates the evidence, improves the circumstances, and generates the confidence. Begin with the assumption, and everything else will follow. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve, but the believing must be complete, immediate, and unwavering. Assume your wealth now. Feel your abundance now. Live from your prosperous identity now. The universe is waiting to honor your assumption. The question is not whether these principles will work for you. The question is whether you will work these principles with the definiteness of purpose and persistence of application that guarantees success. Your moment of decision is now. Your time of effortless wealth begins today. Assume it, feel it, live it, and prepare to be amazed by the speed with which your external world transforms to match your internal assumption. The power is within you. The principles are proven. The only question that remains is, what will you decide? Act as if money flows to you effortlessly, and discover the magnificent truth that it always has and it always will. The choice and the power are yours